I met her in the quietest place of all, the corner of a crowded cafe where no one looked for anything real. Her name was Eliza, or at least that's what she told the world. She wore confidence like a carefully chosen jacket, tailored, polished, and never unbuttoned. People laughed easily around her, drawn to her charm, her sharp wit, the way she seemed to know exactly who she was. She was the life of every party, the center of every conversation, a sun that everyone orbited. But I noticed the pauses. The way her smile arrived half a second late, as if it had to be summoned from somewhere far away. The way her eyes softened when she thought no one was watching, a momentary glimpse behind a flawless curtain. That was the version she hid, the version that felt like a secret. And somehow, it found me. We became friends first. It was the kind of friendship that grows in the small hours, when the rest of the world is asleep. Late coffees turned into evening walks, and those walks stretched into long conversations about music, books, and the quiet, persistent fear of wanting more than life seems willing to give. Eliza spoke openly about everything except herself. When I asked about her past, about love, about what she dreamed of, she would shrug it off, changing the subject with a practiced, almost imperceptible ease. It was like watching a magician distract you with one hand while the real trick happened with the other. Still, there were moments. Tiny cracks in the perfect facade. Like the night it rained unexpectedly, one of those sudden summer downpours that catches everyone off guard. We ran under the same small umbrella, laughing breathlessly as we tried to navigate the slick pavement. Her arm brushed against mine, and instead of pulling away, she leaned closer, as if the rain had given her permission to be honest, to be vulnerable, for just a second. In that fleeting moment, huddled together, the world outside blurred, and it was just us. I started to realize that the Eliza everyone knew wasn't the Eliza I was falling for. The real one, the one she kept under lock and key, came out in fragments. It was in the way she hummed softly to herself while cooking, thinking she was alone in the kitchen. It was in the rare, unguarded moments when she admitted she was afraid of being too much or not enough all at once. She was terrified of taking up space, yet also terrified of disappearing. One evening, she confessed she'd never let herself be fully seen, especially not by another woman. It was a truth that hung in the air between us, heavy and fragile. "I don't think people would stay," she said one night, her voice barely a whisper. We were standing on my balcony, staring at the distant city lights. Not if they knew all of me. The messy parts, the uncertain parts. I wanted to tell her I was already staying. That I wasn't going anywhere. That the messy parts were the ones I was most drawn to. But I knew she wouldn't believe me. Words felt cheap against the weight of her fear. So instead, I just stood there with her, sharing the silence, and waited. I learned that sometimes, the most profound thing you can do for someone is to simply be present, to be a quiet, steady force in their storm. The turning point came on a quiet evening when words felt too heavy, too clumsy. We were sitting close on the couch, our knees touching, the silence between us filled with unspoken things. The air felt charged, fragile, like the moment before a storm breaks. I could see the conflict in her eyes, the war between wanting and fearing. Eliza's hand trembled as she reached for mine, then stopped halfway, hovering in the space between us, as if she was unsure she was allowed to want this. As if she was asking for permission. So I covered the distance for her. I met her halfway, my fingers intertwining with hers. It was a tentative connection at first, hesitant and questioning, but then it became sure. Solid. She looked at me, really looked at me, and for the first time, something unguarded broke free in her eyes. It was a look of pure, unadulterated vulnerability. When I leaned in to kiss her, I made sure to give her time to pull away, to change her mind. I needed her to know this was her choice. She didn't. She met me with a quiet surrender. Our first kiss was soft, almost shy, two women learning a language neither had ever dared to speak aloud. Her lips were warm, hesitant at first, but then they grew eager, as if she'd been holding her breath for years and was finally exhaling. The world around us faded away, leaving only that single moment and the undeniable truth it carried. We weren't just kissing, we were communicating, saying everything we couldn't with words. When we pulled apart, her forehead rested against mine. A quiet laugh escaped her, a sound I'd never heard before. It wasn't the polished, polite laugh she gave to the world. This one was free, unfiltered, and breathtakingly real. "I don't know how to be this person," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "You don't have to know," I replied, my own voice just as quiet. "Just be." Loving Eliza wasn't about changing her. It was never about trying to fix her or erase the parts she was ashamed of. It was about loving both versions of her, the confident, brilliant woman she showed the world, and the gentle, uncertain soul she tried so desperately to hide. It was about creating a space where those two halves could finally meet and become whole. Over time, with patience and a whole lot of quiet reassurance, she began to trust. She began to believe that the hidden parts of herself weren't burdens, but gifts. She started sharing her fears without flinching, her dreams without apology. I learned about the poetry she wrote in secret, the volunteer work she did without telling anyone, the deep well of empathy she kept hidden beneath her sharp wit. Now, when she smiles, it's not a performance. It reaches her eyes every single time, crinkling the corners in a way that makes my heart ache with love. When she kisses me, there's no hesitation, only a deep, confident knowing. And when she lets herself be vulnerable, when the old fears creep in at the edges of a hard day, I hold her gently, reminding her that the truest version of herself was always, always worth loving. I didn't fall in love with who she pretended to be. I fell in love with who she was brave enough to become, right here with me. And every day, I get to watch her grow into that person a little more. It's the greatest love story I've ever known. Thank you so much for watching and for sharing this story with me. If this resonated with you, please consider liking and subscribing for more stories like this. See you next time.